you could get your build from any other Destiny creator with an even-tempered, level-headed script.
Oh, you thought yourself safe!
But instead, here you are with me.
Look at me go! I'm unstoppable!
Why? Maybe it's the voice. Maybe it's the script. But I know the truth. These builds are your guilty pleasure. Yes, you love being the bad guy.
I'm on a killing spree!
You don't just want to win.
Slaughtered like war beasts!
You want to send a message.
No one can kill me!
If it's your first time here, welcome. Grab a seat in a nice cup of Earl Grey as we dive deep into the pit
I will show you no mercy!
of stupid builds.
Welcome to Stupid Builds, where I will show you some stupid builds. Some of these builds are our own creation, some are from our livestream chat, but all of them are stupid because of how strong they secretly are. Oh boy, where do I even begin with the Wish Ender in Destiny 2? This thing is like the Robin Hood of bows, except instead of stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, it's stealing your precious time and giving you questionable results. First of all, it looks like a cross between a medieval torture device and a prop from a low-budget fantasy movie. I mean, it's got this massive impractical design that makes you wonder if the Awoken found their inspiration in an 80s hair metal band's music video. Now let's talk about its perks. Wish Ender's main trick is that it lets you see through walls and deal extra damage to enemies. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the catch. You have to pull the string back to your ear like you're about to launch a harpoon into a whale, and then you have to hold it there for what feels like an eternity while the enemy team shoots you full of holes. If you're lucky enough to survive this awkward ritual, you might actually hit something, and it'll do okay damage. Just okay. It's like bringing a medieval longbow to a laser gun fight. But here's the best part. Even if you do everything right, you'll often find that the Wish Ender doesn't one-shot kill like you'd expect from a high-powered exotic weapon. Nope, instead you'll leave your enemies with a sliver of health, and they'll quickly scuttle away like cockroaches in the dark. So you'll end up feeling less like an all-powerful guardian and more like a confused archery enthusiast at a Renaissance fair. It's like trying to win a gunfight with a rusty spoon. You'll be lucky if you get a single kill before you're mercilessly sniped by a hunter who actually brought a real weapon to a fight. In conclusion, the Wish Ender is like the participation trophy of exotic weapons in Destiny 2. It looks cool, it sounds cool, but when it comes down to it, you're better off sticking to something more practical if you actually want to get stuff done in the game. Unless, of course, you're in the mood for a laugh and want to watch your enemies scramble to escape your arrows at the speed of a snail on sedatives. Okay, all of what I just said, you caught that, right? That was my opinion of the weapon using data from 2021. Now let me actually write about what Wish Ender is like today. With one single seemingly lukewarm buff, Wish Ender has transformed its once highly specialized but ultimately useless role as a cheat software for poor people into a machine that turns guardians into super energy. While its slower draw time may seem like an insurmountable obstacle, this weapon is an acid test for a player's intelligence. A smart guardian will understand that with this quiet killer in hand, you become a wall against which your enemies will break. The information meta has continued to regress. Minus the recent changes to Knucklehead Radar, Bungie has made it clear that they don't want players knowing where the enemy is for free. But unfortunately for them, they haven't deleted this bow. Wielded by a practiced hand, this bow becomes a toll gate for enemies to assault your team, and its price is forcing a losing battle. The sheer power of information can illuminate a path of success where your opponent quite literally has no counterplay other than to cower. The build we used here did not do this weapon its true justice. This was a striker titan with a shotgun and an insurmountable skull fort. This felt like someone gave a monkey a college education and a knife. While it worked well enough, the build fought itself the entire time. If you really want to see this weapon become a problem, run it on Strand Warlock, with enough threadlings to choke an Amkara. Use the threadlings like a throwable drone strike on enemies still wondering what the hell just hit them for some truly despicable underserved cleanup kills. But unfortunately, we are grading this Titan build. So, I will give it a generous 4 Barneys out of 16 Yoshis. The problem Bungie will have with the meta is that they continue to go directly after problem items as opposed to presenting better counterplay. So call me a prophet, because I am telling you right now that given just a small handful of meta shifts, the Cryosthesia will become the most hated weapon in the Crucible. Mark my words. This build takes the most deplorable practices of the Cryos and sets it down before a banquet of salt we call the Stasis Warlock. Snap grenades are probably illegal in other countries, but for us, we will call the collateral splash damage happy little accidents. Combining them with ice flare bolts and a freeze rift gives us all the tools we need to utterly disrespect anyone who dares to try and take us in a fair fight. Oh, but I want to make sure my opponents suffer mental scars from my presence. I want to etch PTSD onto their brainstem like a bad embroidery job. I want them to hear the sounds of stasis and immediately curl up into a ball and cry. I want to use this with the Karnstein armlets. Another odd and often forgotten about exotic, the Karnsteins grants warlocks a continuous health regen after a melee kill. This regen is somewhere between Healing Rift and Well of Radiance. It is quite powerful. Kill, load, freeze, shatter. This build is an unstable explosion of liquid nitrogen waiting to happen. For our range weapon, we ran this with the Salvager's Salvo. Our only seriously needed perks being Demolitionist and Spike Grenade. The Salvagers offers us a tool for echoing the truth that PvP is not a truly competitive experience, because grenade launchers can be some serious bullshit. This doesn't take a degree in rocket science to understand. Freeze someone, whisper in their ear that they've made a mistake getting out of bed, then do them a favor and put them back to sleep. One animated Mr. Freeze out of one Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze. Regarding builds that curiously escape containment, the Terraba is still like a rabid dog at a preschool that everyone just sort of pretends doesn't exist. This build takes advantage of its rapid-fire Angry Hornet mode and combines it with the Authoress's Embrace. Simply put, we want to impersonate a Hispanic grandmother and empower our throwing blade with the might of God himself, and Chocla whip guardians from angles that physicists aren't even sure are real. It only takes a handful of bullets to grant our weighted throwing knife the strengthened buff, and from there, take a quick moment to pray for good RNG and let loose the Hound of War, and see whether Bungie favors you this day. Even ignoring our obviously hilariously evil knife setup, the Terraba is an amazing weapon that seems to get complained about in waves. Sometimes it's too strong, other times it seems people seem to forget about it. Regardless, nothing sparks joy more than funneling 720 rounds of smoldering hot solar lead into the faces of enemies. Made better by the fact that this weapon sounds like if a roll of bubble wrap did steroids. It's direct dopamine into my brain. I ran this with the Firebolt grenade, but in hindsight, to better play into the passive Ravenous Beast generation from receiving damage, I should have equipped it a healing grenade. You obviously aren't looking to try and swap off the Terraba often because of the loss of perk energy. But if you need to, it's likely due to your bullets hitting as hard as a wet sock because of its rather steep range drop-off. Accordingly, we pair this with a sniper. Your exact rolls matter little, but remember you don't plan on staying on this secondary for long, so consider more neutral benefiting perks like Snapshot or Moving Target. At the end of the day, this is an SMG and sniper build. This setup will literally always be viable until Bungie decides complementary weapon pairings are too much fun. If you are struggling with this build, it's likely you suck with SMGs in general, and I expect you to send an apology note to the Terraba's PR department, lest your life be ended short by a mysterious suicide by Ravenous Beasting. Good build. A classic build. 7 jukeboxes out of 3 heroes. Now, normally this is the part of the video where we close out with a build that has potential but ultimately missed the mark. One of the weaker entries that may only be interesting to the more dedicated off-meta scientists for further research. But instead, I want to take this time to say thank you. Last livestream, we were once again reminded of how much you all care about us. It was humbling. We were given an unbelievable amount of channel memberships, done purely because you all wanted to support us. And because for some reason you like watching me break down mentally from kindness. It can be sometimes all too easy to get locked up in a cage of doubting your value as a human when you aren't doing well as a creator. But the support we received that day will become a permanent mark in my consciousness of how that isn't true. I realize this isn't the most optimal way to end a video, but to ignore what happened to ignore not just the support given of well over 200 memberships donated, but also your motivations for doing so would feel criminal. So in short, thank you. You all sometimes act like the voice of God, reminding us that you don't just care about the funny voice man. You care about us, the people behind the screen. You've never even seen our faces, yet you care. As sappy and as corny as that sounds. And now, more than ever, bless your faces. And deuces.